Welcome, dear friend, to Arkham Horror the card game. This is episode 1 of our Dunwich Legacy blind first playthrough, whatever you want to call it, and I am very excited. I'm an adult man, I'm well into my adultness, and I have butterflies in my stomach, butterflies in my tummy. I've been waiting to play this game for 10 years. It was sat on the shelf and I was trying to find someone who'd appreciate the experience of a first playthrough enough to justify with that person, and I just never found anyone. It's been biding its time, it's been yearning for my touch, and finally we can embrace, and I'm over the moon about it. We'll get into the reading and the theming shortly, but just as a quick bit of an info dump, we have Zoe Samaras and we have Rex Murphy, and I'll show you their decks now. You get a quick overview. There's a whole deck building video if you're interested in that, but we have Internal Injury on Zoe as our weakness, and all these cards poised to have a better look. And on Rex Murphy we have, where is it? Psychosis, there we go, and a very standard Seeker deck. Notably in these decks we have a Delve Too Deep on both characters, which it's got a victory point on, a Wooga. Let's set the scene, I think. Arkham Horror, the Dunwich Legacy Campaign Guide, based on the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Fantasy Flight Games, Roseville, Minnesota, 2017. I'm going to burn his accursed diary, and if you men are wise, you'll dynamite that altar stone up there and pull down all the rings of standing stones on the other hills. Things like that brought down the beings those Whateleys were so fond of. A quote by H.P. Lovecraft from the Dunwich Horror. A bit of a game setup interlude by the look of it here. Choose investigators. We have done so, Zoe and Rex. Each player assembles his or her investigator deck. We've done that, but we will shuffle, just while I remember. Multiple times, even though, as usual, it is never necessary. Choose the difficulty level. You'll have to trust that I'm clicking normal right at the top. And what I should also do is magic. Get these scenario, what would you even call these? Scenario token reference cards on our player board, so we have a better idea of that. Step 4, assemble the campaign chaos bag. This has been done, I believe. Back to the theme. Prologue. Dr. Henry Armitage pours himself a glass of Pinot and sits down at his desk, gesturing for you to sit across from him. I apologize for the short notice, he begins. His face is pale, his forehead sweaty and wrinkled with worry. Armitage, the head librarian of Miskatonic University and a former mentor of yours, privately contacted you in the hopes of gaining your assistance. Eager to help, you made your way to his home in Southside. Upon entering, you were surprised to find his home in disarray. Books and notes litter his desk, and an empty bottle of wine is tipped over onto the ground by the fireplace. You'd always known Armitage to be neat and well organized. The elderly man takes a moment to collect his thoughts. I'm looking for 2 of my colleagues, Dr. Francis Morgan, Professor of Archaeology, and Warren Rice, Professor of Languages. Warren was supposed to meet with me over supper earlier today to discuss several important findings, but he's since gone missing. At first I thought nothing of it, but I have a nagging feeling something else is going on, a very familiar feeling. You've never seen Armitage quite this worried before. His hands tremble as he reaches for the glass on his desk, and he sips from it nervously. I tried to find Francis, hoping he knew where Warren was, but he too is out of touch. Francis has been spending a lot of time in some gambling den, or so I am told. I sent for you because I'm worried Warren might be in trouble. I would appreciate it greatly if you could find him for me. You may also wish to ask Francis for help, if you can reach him. Dr. Henry Armitage on the east side of the American coast is an old British man, because that's the only voice I can do for him. The investigators must decide, choose one. Either we go to find Professor Warren Rice at Miskatonic University, or we go to find Dr. Francis Morgan at the Clover Club, an upscale speakeasy and gambling joint. It says here Scenario 1A is extracurricular activity, so given that we don't actually have much information, I guess I would just go with the order that they were given to me in. And I suppose he does say he wants us to go find Warren, and Francis might be helpful, but Warren is his primary target. So let's say we proceed to Scenario 1A, Extracurricular Activity on page 10. Scenario 1A, Extracurricular Activity. Dr. Armitage is worried his colleague, Professor Warren Rice, might be in trouble, so he's asked for your help in finding his friend. He seems unreasonably nervous about his colleague's disappearance, considering Professor Rice has only been missing for a matter of hours. Game setup. We have to gather all the cards. That's been done for us. Depending on the following circumstances, a different version of faculty offices should be used in this scenario. I love this. If extracurricular activity is the first scenario of the campaign, it is. Use faculty offices, the night is still young. Set it aside out of play. Remove the hour is late from the game. Alright, true board game experience. Let's do that on screen. We get faculty, the night is still young. Where's the other one? Oh, there have been a pile. I see. I'm stupid. We get faculty, the night is still young, and we set it aside out of play, and we remove faculty offices, the hour is late, I think. Let's put that there, and let's put faculty offices. Where should we put it to indicate that it's... There we go. Set the following cards aside out of play. That's been done for us. Put the Miskatonic Quad on. That's all been done for us. Each investigator begins play at the Miskatonic Quad. Let's do that. My first real contribution of this campaign. So Samaras goes to the Miskatonic Quad, as does Rex Murphy. Now, who's going to be the lead investigator? I think thematically, Rex probably hates himself or knows that he's unlucky, so I don't think he'd ever lead the charge. And in this one, let's say that Dr. Henry Armitage heard about Zoe's crusade from the Almighty and recruited her to fight against some baddies. Although Dr. Henry Armitage was supposed to be our mentor, so how would that work? Maybe he's a professor at culinary school at night as well, and then he trained Zoe. Let's add some fan lore and say that that's true. When the game is complete, we're ready to go. Shuffle the remainder of the encounter cards to build the encounter deck. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Let's shuffle our decks again as well, just to be sure. And it's time to play. Agenda 1A. Quiet halls. You have arrived at the Miskatonic University campus in search of Professor Warren Rice. Classes are over, and a mysterious silence hangs in the air over the quad. 7 doomed to move that on. Act 1A. After hours. Professor Rice was last seen several hours ago by one of Armitage's students in the Humanities building. I will need 6 clues to move that on. Now that we're in the campaigns proper, I am going to be reading flavor text for my own benefit and for anyone who's watching if they're interested. Miskatonic Quad. A too early winter has stripped the trees bare. Their dead branches whistle as a sharp, cold wind cuts across the empty quad. This is a 3-shroud location with 0 clues on it. We can resign here. We can't find Rice anywhere. Surrounded by fences and gates of wrought iron, you can't help but feel as much a prisoner here as a guest. Oh, it's a little dramatic. It's the kind of thing I'd say when I was 14 when I didn't want to go to English class. Seems like everything is ready, so I guess we just draw our cards and get going. And now for Rex. On Zoe we have prepared for the worst, emergency cash, emergency aid, a flashlight and a .45 automatic. Very interesting. So I guess because we have the .45 automatic, we don't need to keep prepared for the worst. We do want to keep flashlight and .45 automatic. Flashlight obviously to get clues and .45 automatic to fight with. Emergency aid is a definite mulligan. We don't even have an ally to use it on yet. And then emergency cash, I guess you can't really go wrong with emergency cash. We already have our way to get clues easier and our weapon, so we're not exactly looking for anything. I guess an evidence might be nice, or the right of seeking perhaps. But no, I think this is fine because we would need the emergency cash to play these 2 assets anyway. Let's draw 2 more cards and see what we get. Vicious Blow and Unexpected Courage. Very solid cards, I believe. We're happy with this first hand on Zoe for sure. And then on Rex we have Guts, Perception, Manual Dexterity, Strange Solution, and Rex's Curse. Alright, we put back Rex's Curse and we redraw because that doesn't count as it's a weakness. Mind over Matter. I think we can throw back Guts. I think we could throw back Manual Dexterity. I don't like the idea of having so many skills on our first hand. I'd really like to be getting magnifying glasses over all else, though Strange Solution is very interesting. Basically a way to draw 2 cards at the start of the game and just kind of get it done, the identification, that is. Let's keep it, and let's use Perception with it to draw 3 cards on our first turn. That seems like a good way to find more magnifying glasses rather than just mulliganing. Mind over Matter. Are we going to be fighting this early? Until the end of the round, you may use your book in place of your fist and boot. No, I don't think we want this, because it doesn't do any extra damage if we were to fight. It would only give us a boost of 1 book compared to our boot. I think you understand what I'm saying. It's not worth keeping this card just to get a 1 boost on our boot from our book. There we go, I found my way there in the end. Get rid of Mind over Matter and let's draw 3 more cards. Deduction, I love deduction. She loves whatever's in that book. Dr. Milan Christopher as well, which is fun. It's that second Strange Solution. Now, how does that work? Do we just use it as the wild skill icon if we've already discarded the first version? Anyway, we're happy with Dr. Milan Christopher. We would have liked to get a magnifying glass, but that's not happening. I'd say with Zoe, this is about a 9 out of 10 first hand, and on Rex, this is a 7.5 to 8 out of 10 first hand, only because we're missing magnifying glasses, and this doubling up of Strange Solution kind of sucks, and I guess it means that I perhaps shouldn't have included both of them in the deck. But you live and you learn, so we're ready to play. Shuffle these cards back into our decks, and it's the investigation phase. What to do? We are in the Miskatonic Quad. Let's use our first turn setting up. So Zoe is the lead investigator. Does that matter? I don't think it matters who is the lead investigator when deciding who goes first, but Zoe will anyway. We play our 45 automatic. We get our big shooty, or it's a small shooty gun out there straight away. Costs us 4 resources. We then play our emergency cash and get 3 resources. We then use our last action. This is a very clean first turn, I feel, for a Guardian. We use our last action to get our flashlight out there, which costs us 2. Simple and straightforward and strong, I think. On to Rex's go. What do we want Rex to do? Definitely play Dr. Milan Christopher, right? That feels like a no-brainer. That costs us 4 resources. Now, if we wanted to test Strange Solution, we'd be testing 5 versus 4, which doesn't feel great. It would be a 66% chance, but if we committed a perception to it, that would bring us up to an 86.66% chance, which feels a lot better. So I think we do this. We say we want to test against Strange Solution, which does cost a resource. We throw in our perception to take us up to an 86% chance, and then do we throw in our other Strange Solution just to shore ourselves up a bit more, and then it's anything but an auto fail. So we're 4, plus 1 from Dr. Milan, 5, plus 2 from Perception, 7, and then plus 1 from Strange Solution. So we're testing 8 versus 4. Yeah, it would only be the auto fail. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. -4! It feels so good when you seemingly overcommit, but then you get vindicated. It is a wonderful feeling. Fantastic. So we've got the ball moving. That is our second action. We draw a card. Let's do this slowly. We draw a card because of Perception. We then draw 2 cards because of succeeding on Strange Solution. So we get 2 here. The cards that we drew are Shortcut, I've Got a Plan, and Guts. Fairly solid, but no magnifying glasses, obviously. Then we have a last action. We don't have any resources to speak of. We should record in the campaign log that you've identified the solution. Let's do that. I love recording things in the campaign log. It's so exciting. I love any kind of... It's basically like a legacy concept on a small scale, isn't it? One more action for Rex. What to do? We haven't got any assets to commit. Do we move him somewhere? Or is that silly? I don't think there's anything else to do. You wouldn't use shortcut, would you? Choose an investigator at your location, move that investigator to a connecting location. You know, I bet you would do that for some action compression, so let's play shortcut. Let's move ourselves to the science building. The science building dominates the eastern side of the campus. Its windows are dark, save for a lone window shining faintly in the corner of the basement. This is a two-shroud location with 2 clues on it. After the science building is revealed, put the set-aside alchemy labs into play. All right, I can do that. Over here. And then also, when you fail a head test in the science building, take 1 damage. A trail of viscous ooze snakes through the halls of the science building's first floor, leading down into the basement. Right. I'm picking up bad vibes from the science building. And I guess the basement is the alchemy labs. Oh, you cannot move it. The door leading into the alchemy labs is locked. You cannot move into the alchemy labs. A pungent stench rises from the laboratory downstairs. The silence of the hall is broken by the unmistakable hiss of a burner. What I was going to say is if there's a trail of viscous ooze leading down there and we're playing Arkham, we probably don't want to be going there with Rex by himself. But our decision's been made for us because the alchemy labs is locked. Because we used shortcut, Rex still has an action left. Let's take it. We're testing 5 versus 2 and we hope to get these 2 clues. Is there anything to commit? No point committing deduction, because there's no extra clue to make use of it. I've got a plan now, we want to keep that and guts. Let's just test 5 versus 2. Occultist. -1. Oh, we should read through, that reminds me. Let's read through these scenario specific token results. A skull is -1. If you fail, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Occultist is -1, but -3 instead if there are 10 or more cards in your discard pile. An Elder Thing is -X. Discard the top 2 cards of your deck. X is the total printed cost of those discarded cards. It sounds nasty. Does Rex have 10 cards in his discard pile? He has 4, which means that this cultist was a -1, therefore we pass, and the science building is already completely cleared out because of Rex's investigator ability. I don't think it gets much better than that for a first turn. But I suppose let's not speak too soon before we've got to the mythos phase. Enemies, there are no enemies. Upkeep phase, 1 button and it all gets upkept. We've drawn to the flame on Zoe. We draw the top card of our encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. Very, very interesting. And we've drawn, there it is, a magnifying glass on Rex. One of our 2 in our deck. Hopefully we'll get the second one out soon. Mythos, and let's be careful about this. The round begins. Place 1 Doom on the current agenda. Let's do that. Check the Doom threshold. We're 1 out of 7. That doesn't matter. Each investigator draws an encounter card. Zoe first. Did I shuffle the encounter deck? Let's do it anyway. Beyond the Veil. Revelation. Put Beyond the Veil into play in your threat area if there is no copy of Beyond the Veil in your threat area. Right. If your deck has no cards in it, take 10 damage and discard Beyond the Veil. Okay, that kind of puts a time limit on this scenario then, and we don't want to be drawing too many cards on Zoe. But it also has Surge, which means that another encounter card is drawn, so I'm not too happy with. Eager for Death. You test 2 willpower. Increase this skill test's difficulty by 1 for each damage on you. If you fail, take 2 horror. Seems like we're happy to draw that now, early in the scenario when we don't have any damage on us, right? So we test 4 versus 2. I don't think we want to commit anything. Let's just do it, an 80% chance of success. All right, that's how it goes. There's no way I could have shored that up. I guess I could have committed unexpected courage. And perhaps I should have. But we can't take back our decisions. Gosh, if you fail, take 2 horror already. 2 out of 6, that doesn't feel great. I almost feel like that was our opportunity to do well in the scenario. If we passed that, this encounter card was out of the mix for later on in the game and we'd have been laughing, but we failed, so we're probably going to lose. That's how I feel about this. On to Rex's encounter card. What do we have? A Whippoor Will. A 2/1/4 creature enemy. It is aloof and hunter. Each investigator at Whippoor Will's location gets -1 head, -1 to all stats. Okay, I understand. It's aloof, so it doesn't go in our threat area, but it spawns at the science building. Doesn't matter to... Oh, by the way, we should have got a resource from Dr. Milan Christopher, I now realize. Whoops. Whippoor Will, hopefully, we can just move away from on our next turn. I think that's a strong encounter deck draw for Rex. I'm not happy about this. Eager for death, fail. We could have set ourselves up really nicely, but what can be done? Moving on to the investigation phase. I think that Zoe should move first to get a good idea of what is in these locations. What are the locations? Orne Library, Humanities Building, Student Union, and then we have an Administration Building. What did it say on these decks? He was seen in the Humanities Building. Okay, so do we go there first? Yeah, let's go to the Humanities Building first. Let's start our turn with Zoe Samaras. We move to Humanities. Professor Rice was last seen in the Humanities Building, teaching one of his Latin classes. The murky windows of the weather-worn structure emit no light, and the night is silent around you. 3-shroud location, and there are 4 clues here. Forced, at the end of your turn, if you're in the Humanities Building, discard the top X cards of your deck, where X is the amount of horror on you. The power is out, plunging the building's halls into heavy darkness. There is no sign of Professor Rice. Well, that's horrible for Zoe, because she's already got 2 horror on us, so we can't stay in the Humanities Building, really. Well, we did say we were going to use Zoe to explore. Oh man, that sucks. I see, by the way, that, Professor Rice he is definitely not in the Humanities Building. I guess we move somewhere else. We go to the only place that it makes sense to move, the Orne Library. Can't go to the Student Union nor the Administration Building because they're not connected. So that was our first action, and not a very good action, I don't think. To the Orne Library. 3 floors of weathered grey granite. The library looks more like a reliquary than a place of learning. Stone gargoyles snarl down from above arched windows, and Latin script winds around the double doors at the top of a wide set of stone steps. Bit of a Latin theme going on here. Is that big in American? Well, when was this? In the 20s? I guess no one can give me a first-hand experience of university life in the 1920s, but I guess they were big on Latin. Flip it over. It is a 3... Oh, God. It's a 3-shroud location, and there are 2 clues here. You must spend 1 additional action to investigate the Orne Library. I should read the flavor text before I read the effects to keep some kind of continuity. The Orne Library is a labyrinth of dusty bookshelves and poorly lit halls. I spy with my little eye a wooga, a victory point here though. Initially I thought that spending an additional action to investigate kind of sucks, but realistically it means that Zoe can just use Drawn to the Flame to negate that negative, which is fantastic. She wouldn't be very successful investigating here anyway. Obviously Rex would, but it would be a waste for Rex to come here. He'd have to spend an action to get here, spend an extra action to investigate, and there's only 2 clues, so he'd be done in no time, but he would have spent 3 or 4 actions to dip in and out. Now, I think it would be kind of silly to spend our last action on a turn drawing the top card of our encounter deck. We are asking for trouble in that way. What we can do is just spend an action to draw a card. I would much rather seemingly waste a little bit of time by spending an action to draw a card, rather than drawing an enemy on our last action of this turn, not being able to deal with it, and then perhaps drawing another enemy in the Mythos phase. That's how you lose scenarios, or that's how I lose scenarios. Let's do it. Draw 1 card. What do we have? Prepared for the worst. Can't Kind of useless at the moment, but it might be good when the pistol runs out of ammunition, I guess. That's the end of Zoe's turn. Initially, it started off a bit disappointing because Humanities was a waste of an action, but going into the Orne Library with Zoe and not Rex, I'm happy about. So swing some roundabouts. For Rex's turn, obviously, we want to play our magnifying glass. It costs 1, takes an action, but it does mean that we get +1 book while investigating. We only have one decision to make, really. We move to Miskatonic Quad for another action. And then, should we spend, at the end of your turn, putting Rex in the Humanities building, he wouldn't be discarding cards. Yet. Anyway, so we get him to the Humanities, and then on the next turn he starts hoovering up clues like it's no one's business. We're happy with that. I don't feel like we did too much. We definitely didn't get any clues. But other aspects of the game moved forward for sure. Enemy phase, the whippoorwill moves 1 space towards us. Upkeep phase, we have drawn Rite of Seeking, which is ace. That's a way we're going to get clues with Zoe. And we've drawn Manual Dexterity on Rex. Nice to get out of a bit of a tight spot. Mythos phase. Let's do this slowly so I get in the habit of things again. I haven't recorded for a while. We put a Doom on the agenda. We check 2 versus 7. It does show at the top 2 versus 7, but I like to check the card to make sure. And then we start drawing our encounter cards. Zoe draws... Ooh, this feels bad. Yithian Observer, 4/4/3. Monster Yithian. Awooga, though, victory point. Its prey is the fewest cards, or the investigator with the fewest cards in hand. Forced. When Yithian Observer attacks you, discard 1 card at random from your hand. If you cannot, Yithian Observer deals +1 damage and +2 horror for this attack, bringing it up to dealing 2 of each. This is nasty, but I do think it's okay to have drawn it now, rather than when there was something else really pressing that we needed to deal with, because so we can deal with this Yithian Observer in 1 turn, most likely. We're happy with that. We put it in our threat area. Rex has drawn a... We're less happy with this. Yithian Observer on Rex is nasty. How do we deal with this? Obviously, we run away from it, but we don't want to be running away from it in the Humanities building. We'd like to stay in the Humanities and get the clues. We do have... I've got a plan, though, which would do +2 damage. Which is very, very interesting. I love this. I love this part of the game where things happen, where the board state changes because the game is doing things behind the scenes. And then you have to make these decisions and work out what to do. All right, let's only plan what we're going to do in our turn, I think. Investigation phase. Speaking of our turn, it is our turn. What to do? Well, we had a very straightforward plan on Zoe to attack the Yithian Observer and get rid of it on our turn if we can. It wouldn't be so bad if it took a whole turn to do this, I don't think, because the Yithian Observer is such a strong enemy. And the victory points are a really nice idea on these guys. The problem is, and this is something I have to take into consideration, say Rex fights with I've got a plan. He's testing 5, because of Dr. Milan, versus 4, which is a 66% chance, true, but I'd much rather have something like an 80% chance. And then even if he did succeed, he would only be doing 3 damage at the moment because he doesn't have the clues, or he doesn't have enough clues to be getting the max bonus damage on I've got a plan. If we somehow found another clue on Rex, then we could use I've got a plan, but he doesn't have the resources anyway, so what the hell am I talking about? Oh man, I believe the play is to evade the Yithian Observer. It's only got 3 boot, which means with a manual dexterity we should succeed. Then try to hoover up clues in the Humanities building, and then run away to Miskatonic Quad and then make a stand there, perhaps, but there's a whippoorwill. Okay, first we should use Rex Murphy because our decisions hinge on whether Rex is able to successfully evade the Yithian Observer. We test 3 versus 3. Obviously, that's not good enough, so we test 5 versus 3, and we hope for better than a -2. A 0, thank God. That was a very, very important moment, I think. We get Let's do this slowly. We draw a card because we were successful with a manual dexterity. We drew Search for the Truth. That's interesting. Draw X cards where X is the number of clues on Rex Murphy. We're soon going to have loads of clues. Yithian Observer gets evaded at this location, and we have 2 actions left. It would be really nice. There's no victory point here. It would be really nice to feel free to leave a clue in the humanities building, because this Yithian Observer is not a hunter. It doesn't chase us. So Zoe could quite happily go down here, maybe use an evidence and kill Yithian Observer to get the victory point. That might be a good use of our time. Let's say that we want to commit deduction, hoping that we succeed on our 5, 6, 7 versus 3 test. Oh God, please, please, please. -1, thank God. Right, we do succeed, and let's go slowly. We have used our action. We get a resource because of Dr. Milan Christopher, who does get exhausted. We then get 3 clues, which is just insane efficiency because of deduction and Rex's investigator ability. Meaning that if we were to now fight that Yithian Observer, we could kill it if we succeeded, which is very interesting to me. Should we do it? Should we test 5 book? We would need to spend all our resources. This attack uses book. We would be testing 5 book versus 4 fist here. And could we commit something? Is it worth it to commit Search for the Truth? It would mean that we would most likely succeed. This is a very difficult decision because Search for the Truth is so strong. And I don't like the idea of using signature assets on commits. Although, what am I talking about? I would have used Wendy's amulet on the same in the Night of the Zealot playthrough. Let's do it. I have a feeling this might be a high-level play, but we'll see. We're testing, let's put this token back. On our last action, we are testing 4 book, plus 1 from Dr. Milan Christopher, 5 book, plus 3 book from Search for the Truth. So we're testing 8 book versus 4 fist on Yithian Observer. We need anything but an auto fail. And at the same time, we need to commit, we need to spend, I've got a plan, spend all those 3 resources so that we're allowed to fight with book, dealing a maximum of 4 damage. This has worked out very well, as long as we succeed. So let's go. Oh, thank the Lord. -1. This has worked out fantastically. -1 means we succeed. We one-shot. Can you imagine Rex Murphy, our cursed reporter, one-shotting this? This isn't even just a normal bad guy like a thug or rats. This is, from the art, I'm guessing it's some otherworldly creature. And we one-shot it. It goes to our victory display. Victory display is this button. Really, really happy with Rex's turn there. I think there was 100% accuracy. If this was a chess game, there was 100% accuracy. The Arkham engine says perfect moves. On to Zoe's turn. She also has a Yithian Observer to deal with. Nothing too fancy here. We just shoot it, I believe. Twice. And hope for the best. We can commit a Prepared for the Worst, which might be the way to do it. At the moment, we're testing 5 because of 45 automatic versus 4. Which obviously sucks. I would love to throw a Prepared for the Worst at this. I don't think we need to go searching for any weapon at the moment. And by the time it comes in useful, we could have definitely got some use out of it in commits. Prepared for the Worst adds a fist onto it. We're testing 6 versus 4, and we spend an ammo from the 45 automatic. Zoe gets a resource because the Yithian Observer engaged her as well. I always seem to remember investigator reaction abilities after the fact. But it does mean there's some part of my brain that's whirring away on the background stuff, so I like the idea of that. Testing 6 versus 4, and if we succeed, we do 2 damage. Then on our next action, we commit an unexpected courage and shoot it again. 6 versus 4, let's see what happens. -2. My heart sings. We do 2 damage to our Yithian Observer, and we're very, very happy with that. On our second go, exactly what we said we'd do, let's commit this unexpected courage Let's spend an ammo as well to bring us up to 4, plus 1 from the gun, plus 2 from unexpected courage, 7, anything which is a -3 or better. Let's go, let's test. Oh! Elder sign. There was a elder token tracker here, wasn't there? Let me sort that out. Here we go, like nothing ever went wrong. +1 on our elder sign counter token keep tracker thing over here. All right, back to it. What was Zoe's elder sign? It's a +1. If this skill test is successful during an attack, that attack deals +1 damage. So we overkill the Yithian Observer. That was our second go. Yithian Observer is dead. That's 2 extra victory points just from enemies, and we haven't even really got into the scenario so far. I'm happy with this. It has slowed us down, but maybe getting slowed down a little bit in exchange for more experience moving between scenarios is worth it. I guess it's only worth it if we don't get hammered later on in this. For our last action, we play Drawn to the Flame. I'm going to do this because, how on earth do you say that word? I'm going to do this because it's risky. We talked about this. Drawn to the Flame, playing it at the end of your turn. I could draw something awful, but I kind of feel like we have cleared out 2 difficult enemies. There can't be anything too scary in the encounter deck, right? If it is an enemy, it's probably going to do 1 health damage to us, or maybe it's even a whippoorwill. I really just want to get Orn Library cleared out and never go here again. Let's do it. Drawn to the Flame. We draw the top card of our encounter deck. It is, Terror from Beyond. This is a peril, so no one can help with it. Revelation. Choose one of the following card types: asset, event, or skill. Each player must discard each card in his or her hand that is of the chosen card type. If this is not the first copy of Terror from Beyond drawn this phase, choose 2 card types instead. Right. So I can choose asset, event, or skill, and then both investigators have to clear out all those cards from our hand. This is all right, though, right? Because we have skill and asset here, and we have... That's on Zoe, I should use my words. We have a skill and an asset on Zoe, and a skill on Rex. Thus, I could say event, right? And then no one has to discard anything. I proclaim event, and this encounter deck has whiffed. Was that legal? That felt too easy. I'm not sure about that, but satisfyingly, Orn Library is now cleared out. Another really successful turn. Again, I'm happy about this. On to our enemy phase. The whippoorwill moves. Now, where does it move? It moves to the Orn Library. There's no benefit to killing this, by the look of it, rather than just getting an enemy off the board. As long as we draw it away from anything interesting happening, i.e. to the Orn Library, we're okay. Upkeep. We upkept. Another prepared for the worst on Zoe, alright. And then a laboratory assistant on Rex. Probably not going to get an opportunity to play it because we have no charisma in our deck, which sort of means that laboratory assistant is a glorified single book skill commit icon card. But that's okay, that comes in handy on Rex anyway. Uh-oh lads, it turns out I've been a naughty boy. I've been a naughty boy, but it doesn't affect the game. I forgot, and this is just teething problems, I forgot that you needed to succeed by 2 or more while investigating with Rex to get the bonus clue. Luckily enough, on both of the times where we have investigated and picked up that extra clue, we did succeed by 2 or more. So I forgot, but it didn't have any impact on the game. I just stopped recording and watched back to check, and we're all good, so that's a bit of a weight off my mind. A weight off my mind because this scenario so far seems to be going really well, and I bet if I'd played it again, it wouldn't go so well. We have these 2 experience points already in our victory display, 2 hard enemies cleared out, lots of clues got. On the subject of clues, by the way, we could move on after hours because we have 7. But let's do that at the start of next turn so we can deal with whatever comes along. The Mythos phase. Our encountered... Sorry. Put a doom on the agenda, put a doom on the agenda. We draw an encounter card on Zoe. A thrall. Shit. This thrall spawns in the Humanities building, as that's where there's the most clues. It is a 2/2/2 humanoid monster abomination. Has retaliate, which sucks. It does 1 HP damage and 1 sanity damage. A malevolence has overtaken their minds, turning them into soulless puppets. That would, I guess, go in Rex's threat area. Not ideal, especially because Rex still has to draw an encounter card of his own. And if it's an enemy, that might become quite difficult. It is not, thankfully. Visions of futures past. Test 5 head. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of your deck. Right. We have 3 head. To start off with, this is a definite time to commit a guts. Thus, we're testing 5 versus 5, and we assume that we're probably going to fail by at least 1. Gosh, that's horrible. 5 head. This early. Oh, -1. All right. We do only succeed. Oh, sorry, we do only fail by 1, which means we discard 1 card from our deck, right? Discard. Ah, no, that's from our hand. Sugar, this is me not being able to play the game properly. We discard. What do we discard? A deduction. It's not the worst. It's a very middle-of-the-road thing. I think we're a bit sad to be discarding deduction. It could have been much worse, but it also could have been much better for us. But what we are really glad of is this Visions of the Past is not an enemy, because then Rex would have been completely overwhelmed very suddenly, actually, with no way to really deal with it. No manual dexterities in his hand, no mind over matter, no way to fight. We're finished, on to the investigation phase. Now, Zoe's plan is obviously to run away, and it wouldn't make any sense to run all the way down to Rex, engage Thrall, and then kill Thrall. Would it? I think I'd much rather try to evade this Thrall with Rex, even though it's a 3 versus 2, which is not great. I think in this case we take Rex's turn first, see how it goes, and depending on how it goes, we then make a decision with Zoe. On Rex's turn, we would like to evade the Thrall. It would be way too slow to attack. Testing 3 versus 2, a -1 or better, please. A 0. Very lucky there, I think. We didn't stack the... On all of our other successful skill tests, we've often committed a lot of cards, so it didn't feel too jammy when we succeeded. But I think on this one we have got lucky there. We could have been stuck in this mire of evading Thrall for quite a while. Thrall is evaded. First action is taken. Then on our last action... Firstly, what we should do, let's say before we should move on this After Hours act deck. Let's flip this over, see what happens. The head janitor. You were unable to find Professor Rice, but one of the students you spoke with mentioned a strange man entering Rice's office. Unfortunately, the door leading to the faculty offices is locked at this late hour. The student says that the head janitor, Jazz, might be able to let you in, if you can find him. Shuffle the encounter discard pile and set aside Jazz Mulligan into the encounter deck. Okay. Would it have been better to progress that act card before the Mythos phase? Jazz Mulligan is good to have, so I guess it probably would have, for future reference. Jazz Mulligan. Let's read him when we pull him, but I guess he allows us to go places. Yeah, while you control Jazz Mulligan, you ignore the text on each unrevealed Miskatonic location, which means we can go to the Alchemy Labs if we so choose. Put Jazz Mulligan in the encounter discard pile, then shuffle everything in and... 28 cards. That is a lot, though. Not sure how I feel about that. Act 2A, Rice's whereabouts. Concerned for Professor Rice's safety, you seek out the head janitor, who can let you into the locked sections of the campus. You can use an action to spend 1 clue. Discard the top 5 cards of the encounter deck. Top 10 instead. Okay, we don't have 1 player in the game. Spend a clue to discard the top 5 cards of the encounter deck. If you discard Jazz Mulligan for any reason, resolve his revelation effect. I understand what's going on here. We did spend 6 clues. Who do we want our clues on? Because we have 1 left. Let's get rid of all of Rex's. Right? And get rid of 1 of Zoe's. And then Zoe can be spending an action to discard cards because she has less to do this turn, I think. Back to the turn. We would like to Test against humanities building or for investigating. There's only one clue there, so we don't really care if we succeed by too much. We just want to succeed, full stop. 4 book, +1 from Dr. Milan, +1 from magnifying glass is 6. So we're testing 6 versus 3 to get this last clue. -2, we succeed. Wonderful news. Everything is still going suspiciously well. Get a resource because of Dr. Milan and exhaust him. Flip over our action tokens to keep track of that. And then for our last action, we just want to get out of there. There's no real reason to be in the humanities building. There's nothing to do at Miskatonic Quad either for now, but we can move to elsewhere, other places, other locations. Rex's turn is done. Another success, I believe. Now for Zoe, there's no point in killing the whippoorwill yet. But if there's nothing else to do, then perhaps there is a point. Let's spend an action to move away first, because I think that's a no-brainer. We'd kind of also like to get down a rite of seeking, though we do have a flashlight for getting clues. So maybe not worth spending an action on. Let's just do this. Use an action to spend 1 clue, discard the top 5 cards of your encounter deck. I suppose just getting Jazz Mulligan as soon as possible is what we want to do. Administration building isn't locked, though. Perhaps we go here first. Yeah, let's do that. Let's explore all the places first. Oh, there's also Student Union. Sugar, which do I go to? Student Union or Administration building? I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's say we go to the Administration building, because we clicked on that first. Around the aged Administration building, creepers of ivy climb from the ground in an effort to claim it. The old hall stands alone in an isolated section of the campus, apart from the day-to-day bustle of students. What is in this Administration building? Lots of paperwork, presumably. Forced, after Administration building is revealed, put the set-aside faculty offices into play. Cool! At the end of your turn, if you're in the Administration building, discard the top card of your deck. Okay, let's get the faculty offices out. Ooh, the door leading into the faculty offices is locked. You cannot move into the faculty offices. You come to a locked door at the top of the stairs leading to the 3rd floor of the Administration building. Through its frosted window, you believe you glimpse a shadow darting across the hall, or maybe it's just your imagination. Shit, so we can't get into there without Jazz Mulligan either. We don't really want to sit in Administration building. There's no point being here with Zoe anyway because it's a 4 shroud, but it's going to feel bad to move back. Ugh. The reason I don't want to stay in Administration building is because we have this Beyond the Veil, which means that as soon as our player card deck runs out, then we take a ridiculous amount of damage. But it's only 1 card. Let's stay away because we could spend multiple terms in the admin building and then we'd just be discarding cards willy-nilly. It's not the best final action of a turn, I don't think, but it is the safest. That's our turn done. Guess we should check out Student Union next. Really, we want to be discarding these encounter cards as fast as we can to find Jazz. Right, I think that's correct. On to the enemy phase. The whippoorwill does hunt us, so everyone at this Miskatonic Quad now is losing a stat. Upkeep phase. We have drawn evidence on Zoe, very cool, and have drawn preposterous sketches on Rex. Nothing too game-changing, but good nonetheless. We do need some card draw, so send Rex down to the admin building on the next turn, I believe. Mythos phase, we added Doom to the Doom counter with 4 out of 7. We then draw our encounter cards. Ooh, this is nasty. Drawing encounter cards when there's a whippoorwill here. I see how this could get scary quite quickly. Ooh, what did I do there? Eager for death. Right. Test 2 head. Now, we've already had this, and we failed last time. We really need to not fail it this time. Otherwise, we'll only have 2 sanity left on Zoe, which is really, really bad. Because there's a whippoorwill, we'll be testing 3 head versus 2 head here. Is there anything I can commit? Any heads here? No, none from Zoe, and only preposterous sketches from Rex, which would take us up to succeeding on a -2 instead of a -1. This is nasty. I think we have to commit preposterous sketches, don't we? We can't in good conscience just hope for a -1. We have to make sure that we pass on -2s as well. Let's roll hoping for anything better than a -2. -1. Oh, we didn't need to throw preposterous sketches in anyway, but we're happy that we did. This is really nasty, especially with the whippoorwill. It's the theming and the coming together of the game design and the narrative and the theme is fantastic because these are the whippoorwills, aren't they? So this whippoorwill here that's aloof and just sitting around and getting in the way means that the way we deal with the other whippoorwills is affected and our tests are much more dangerous. I love it. We do succeed anyway. We did have to commit a preposterous sketches, which I really would have liked to have used on Rex, to be honest. But Rex's turn now. Ancient Evils and, check this out, this is specific Ancient Evils artwork for the Dunwich Legacy campaign because on using this mod, go all the way to the top left, there's this section where you can choose which Ancient Evils card that you want to use and you put it in this box and it changes it. Right, that's a bit of an aside. Back to the game. All this means is that simply one doom is placed on the current agenda. Bosh, there we go. Investigation. We want to get away from the whippoorwill, obviously. But do we want to go down to the student union with Zoe? Or do we want to just kill the whippoorwill with Zoe instead? The problem is, because it's aloof, you have to engage it first. The thing is, I'd really like to be dealing with whippoorwill with something like a beat cop, although we haven't even upgraded it, so it's probably not going to be worth it. If another whippoorwill spawns, that would just be disgusting. I think that we should deal with this one whippoorwill even though it feels bad to do so. We engage the whippoorwill with Zoe, which sucks. It does mean that we get a resource, and we're flush with cash, so I should be spending some of this somehow. I guess on Right of Seeking, or an ally, really, if we draw one. We're testing versus 2. We're testing 4 versus 2, but really we're testing 3 versus 2, because of its stat-affecting ability. 3 versus 2 doesn't even feel that good. So we get rid of Prepared for the Worst and we test a 4 versus 2, right? That's how we should do it. Oh, thank God. Elder Sign, if this skill test is successful, do extra damage. We don't need the extra damage, though we do appreciate it. Get rid of that damn whippoorwill. That's 2 actions to deal with a stupid bird. We do have another Elder Sign counter. For our last action, we should go down to the student union to explore, I think. Actually, no, for our last action, we're going to spend a clue to discard the top 5 cards of our encounter deck. We really need to find Jazz Mulligan. Is it worth... It's probably just going to be clues in the student union. I feel like at this point, locked doors insinuate to me that there's something interesting behind it. Student union is not locked. Alright, let's discard 5 cards from our encounter deck. We have discarded... I have to do this quite slowly. What is this? A whippoorwill. Happy with that. Terror from Beyond, that's 2. Arcane Barrier, that's 3. Visions of Future Past, that's 4. And this is shit, it's not. It's a Wizard of Yog-Sothoth, though, which has a victory point, a Wooga. 4/3/3. When the engaged investigator... Oh, nasty. It does 2 sanity damage. I think although it is a victory point, we're happy to not see him. Only has 3 health though, so it would have taken 1 shot with a vicious blow from Zoe. Anyway, that was our last action. No Jazz Mulligan, I'm afraid. On Rex, we send Rex. If he goes to the admin building, though, he just has to come straight back. Maybe Rex goes to the student union. Takes up 1 action. Even at this late hour, you can hear a muffled chatter from inside the student union. Perhaps one of the students will know where Professor Rice is. After Student Union is revealed, you put the set-aside dormitories into play. You can spend actions here to heal a damage and a horror as well. There are 2 clues, and it's very, very easy to get them because it's a one-shroud location. Alright, I'm happy I went here. Put the set-aside dormitories into play. Just for the sake of keeping everything neat and able to be seen on a small video, dormitories is not going to go in one of these nice slots. It's just going to be cast aside. The door leading into the dormitories is locked. You can't move into the dormitories. Bloody hell. Absolutely ridiculous. They won't let 2 grown adults who probably have very, very suspicious ways of being just move around an educational establishment with young adults in freely. What is the world coming to? It is health and safety gone mad. Well, it's put a bit of a stop in our tracks. I suppose we get the clues, we investigate to get the clues, and then we try to bring Jazz Mulligan out the encounter deck. It's not feeling great at the moment. Testing versus 1, which is wild. So we're testing 4, a base, 5 from Dr. Milan, 6 from Magnifying Glass. 6 versus 1, let's go. Another Elder Sign. You may instead choose to automatically fail this skill test to draw 3 cards, is what it said. That's fascinating. I kind of think we want to do that. This is the one time when I think we do want to... I don't normally make use of those Elder Sign effects. Much rather sort of succeed in a test or something. I don't want to think too deeply about it. But in this case, yeah, I think we fail. It doesn't cost us anything to fail because it's just an investigation check. There's no retaliation on a combat or anything. We fail it and we draw 3 cards. 3 cards is a wild amount to draw. Manual Dexterity, Guts, and a Magnifying Glass. This is good. I think this is good. We use our last action to try again. So we're testing, 4 + 1 + 1, 6 versus 1. It's got to be a success. -1, we do succeed. We get both clues because we succeeded. We're aware of it. We succeeded by more than 2. Okay, a good turn, and we can get a Magnifying Glass out next turn if necessary. And these 2 cards, Manual Dexterity and Guts, very handy to have for the encounter deck. We feel safe. That's the end of our go, unfortunately, or fortunately, because we've done a good job. Enemy phase, there are no enemies that hunt us. Thrall is just going to sit there and do very little, unless we move there and engage her, which we're not going to do. Upkeep. We've drawn Zoe's Cross, symbol of righteousness on Zoe, of course, and an Inquiring Mind on Rex. Very good cards, I think. Quite like to be getting another I've got a plan on Rex, because at some point in these scenarios, it feels like you get all the clues, and then if you're a clue getter or investigator without, or a seeker, without a way of doing damage to enemies that come along later, you do feel like you're a bit of a loose end, or you feel a bit like you're dead weight in the last few turns. Mythos phase, we add a Doom to the Doom counter and we draw encounter decks. We'd really like to not get an Ancient Evils on these draws. Getting an Ancient Evils would sort of shove us forward a turn. The nice thing is when you're on 6 out of 7 in this case, anything that happens on the next turn is free Doom. It always feels good. So we draw on... There is no way for me to fix this. There is no way for me to... Well, there probably is actually, but I didn't anyway. Trust that I didn't. Place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This can cause the agenda to advance. All right. 7 out of 7. The agenda advances. Whatever. Agenda 1B. Something stirs. The university is dead silent. The shadows coil about your feet as you walk, and you swear there is something following you with each step you take. Is it just your imagination, or is there really someone or something stalking you? Each investigator with 5 or more cards in his or her discard pile takes 1 horror. Each investigator with 10 or more takes 2 horror. If the players have completed the house always wins, I haven't. If extracurricular activity is the first scenario in the campaign, it is. Advance to Agenda 2A. How many have we got on our discard pile? We have exactly 5 on Zoe. That's a shame. And we have, 11 on Rex. But Rex has a lot of sanity soak, so it doesn't feel too bad. We successfully investigated at the student union, by the way, so we get a resource from Dr. Milan Christopher. This is nasty. This 3 horror on Zoe is really scary, and we didn't pack any ways to get rid of horror because we didn't think we'd need to because we were so overconfident. Well, can't be helped. Let's move on to Agenda 2A. Dead of Night. Professor Rice's disappearance isn't the only thing amiss at the university. You're unsure exactly what is going on, but you're starting to believe Armitage was right in asking for your help. Each investigator's maximum hand size is reduced by 3 while checking his or her hand size during the upkeep phase. Shit. And we only need 3 doom to move that on. Christ. Very scary. We really need to get Jazz Mulligan out as soon as possible. Zoe has 9 resources. Spend them on something, woman. Alright, that's how it is. Our sole objective really is getting this Jazz Mulligan out. Now, who would we rather have him on? Zoe, I guess. Because Dr. Milan... we don't want to replace Dr. Milan in that ally slot. Time for Rex's encounter, I suppose. Oh, no! Oh, I know what happened. All that happens is I clicked the encounter card for Zoe instead. What I should have done, what I meant to do, was discard our Ancient Evils, reset the Doom counter, and we drew a thrall on Rex, but it has a spawn, what would you say? Spawn condition, location with the most clues. Therefore, the thrall goes on to the administration building. Well, we're not going to go there for a while anyway. Mythos phase done. We're happy. Investigation. This flashlight has been kind of useless, really, on Zoe. What she could do, though, she could go in the administration building, get a clue with evidence. She would one-shot the thrall by shooting it, and then use the flashlight to test 2 versus 2, which isn't great, actually, but we could commit a Zoe's cross. What to do? There is only one thing that we can really do, or should really do, which is spend actions on Rex, and also spend a clue on Rex to get 5 encounter cards out of this encounter deck, and hope that one of them is Jazz Mulligan. Beyond the Veil, 1. Arcane Barrier, 2. Jazz Mulligan. I'm happy about this. We could have been here for ages. Might have needed 3 more clues to clear out the whole encounter deck. Would have been horrible. Jazz Mulligan, the head janitor. Revelation, put Jazz Mulligan into play at your location. While Jazz Mulligan is not controlled by an investigator, he gains Action Parley. Test 3 book. If successful, take control of Jazz Mulligan. I understand. This means Dr. Milan Christopher is going to have to get booted out because Zoe is not going to be succeeding on parlays. Should have packed those fine clothes that we were talking about in the deck building episode. Well, that's a shame because of Dr. Milan Christopher, but we've done enough investigating now, so Dr. Milan has served his purpose, perhaps, and we should have actually put a horror on Dr. Milan. And if we knew that we were definitely going to get Jazz Mulligan on Rex, then we would have killed Dr. Milan with those 2 horror that we took, but we didn't know that because this is blind, unfortunately, but I've made a mental note if I ever come back for it. Jazz Mulligan is at the student union. We need to parlay with Jazz Mulligan. Does this say when he's revealed? Now, when you take control of Jazz Mulligan, advance. On our second action, we parlay with Jazz Mulligan. We're testing versus 3. We have 4. We have 5 because of Dr. Milan. We then could throw laboratory assistant here, actually. We have no need of her as an ally. Of course, Jazz Mulligan's going to take that place. Yeah, so we're testing 6 versus 3, and then should we actually commit magnifying glass as well? 6 versus 3, 7 versus... I think 6 versus 3 is okay. Let's do it. 6 versus 3 to parlay, and we got Occultist, which is -3 if there are 10 or more cards in your discard pile, which there are, but 6 versus 3, which means we end up at 3 versus 3. We succeed. We're happy about it. Jazz Mulligan comes into our It's good that we didn't get rid of Dr. Milan with those 2 horror, in actuality, because then we would have failed that test. Dr. Milan Christopher gets discarded, and in his place, Jazz Mulligan appears. At the same time as that happening, we need to advance the Act deck because we've taken control of Jazz Mulligan. Act 2B. The experiment is loose. You convince Jazz that something strange is going on, and that Professor Rice may be in danger. He doesn't trust you enough to hand you his keys, but agrees to come with you. All of a sudden, you hear a crash coming from the science building, and a student rushes towards you. "Help!" he cries. "There's some kind of animal loose in the chem labs. I only barely caught a glimpse of it, but..." He shudders. "I think it's heading to the dorms. You gotta do something!" If the Alchemy Labs location is not in play, it is. If you are at Agenda 1 or 2, spawn the set-aside experiment in the Alchemy Labs. We are on that agenda. Shit. What is it? The experiment. Something went terribly wrong. It is a 4, 7, and 2. Monster Abomination Elite. It's massive. The experiment gets +3 per investigator health, taking it to 13. When the enemy phase begins, ready the experiment. If the experiment is defeated, advance to Act 3B. It's got 2 victory points. Does this feel like insurmountable? This is when you kind of want a dynamite blast or something. Okay, I understand. It spawns in the Alchemy Labs, I assume. Yes. If you have completed the House Always Wins, I have not. If extracurricular activity is the first scenario of the campaign, remove the set-aside alchemical concoction from the game instead. What is this? Alchemical concoction. This attack uses book instead of fist. If used to attack the experiment, this attack deals +6 damage. And that's removed from the game because we did this scenario first. That would have meant that Rex could have done something useful. Damn. Alright, that's how it is. Removed from the game over here with the other faculty officers. Act 3A. Campus Safety. You have only moments to react. You could warn the students in the dormitories and escort them to safety, or continue your task of searching the faculty offices for Professor Rice. Or perhaps you could try to slay the beast that threatens the campus. Our objective is to find and complete an objective on another encounter card. Seems like we have no use for clues at this point. What do we do? We could get to faculty offices, but it's so far away. Also, Jazz Mulligan, does this apply to all? While you control Jazz Mulligan, you ignore the text on each unrevealed Miskatonic location. Okay, I'm going to quickly Google if this applies to all investigators. Alright, this kind of sucks. Only the investigator controlling Jazz Mulligan can move through locked doors. So there's no chance of getting into the Alchemy Labs, and there's no chance of getting into faculty offices either, really, or it will take a long, long time. If the experiment is defeated, advance to Act 3B. But does that mean that we can't find the professor as well? How does this all work? Guess we spend our last action to go into the dormitories to warn the students, do we? The question is, do we want to find the professor? Because I'm thinking, if we kill the experiment, it advances the act. I haven't seen more than 4 act cards before. So does that end the scenario? And what's in the dormitories? And is it worth using an action to go there? I think part of this decision making is, are we actually going to be able to kill the experiment? It has 13 health. Zoe could do 2. What does massive actually mean? I need to read massive. Okay, I looked what massive does. It seems really terrifying. It attacks everyone at its location for the full damage. Ooh, it has 13 health, right? And I'm going over the same points. We can do 4, maybe 5 with Zoe in a turn. It's just not enough. Realistically, is there any way to kill it without that alchemical concoction that we found earlier that we had to remove because we didn't play the scenarios in the right order. Are we saying that the professor is probably here? That looks like a locked door of the third. Through its frosted window, you believe you glimpse a shadow darting across the hall, or maybe it's just your imagination. Let's assume the guy we're looking for. Is it a professor or is it a doctor? Who is it? Shit, I can't remember. We are looking for Professor Warren Rice. If he does exist on the map, he's probably in the faculty offices. It's going to take us a really long time to get there. We're probably not killing the experiment because it has so much health. So do we try to get to the faculty offices? But then, if we save the professor, we've got to come all the way back to kill the experiment anyway. Or it kills everyone. The student, what's in the dormitories? I think to make a good decision, we have to look at our decks. We have 22 cards in Zoe's. What ways? Oh my god, what on earth has just happened here? Okay, I'm obviously very stupid. I've tidied up my mistake. What I meant to do was search and look at what cards we have. I'm trying to work out whether we can do enough damage. We obviously got rid of fucking Dynamite Blast, didn't we? We only really have guns and beat cops to do damage with. I don't think we can kill the experiment. I think we make a executive decision that we probably can't kill the experiment. Therefore, what do? Go to the faculty offices, I guess? Also, we should shuffle this to make sure we're not cheating. Okay, we say we're not going to kill the experiment, which is such a shame because it's 2 victory points and I would have loved to. Don't really want to go to the dormitories. What is in the dormitories? Clues or something to do with students. Maybe the students have a way to deal with the experiment. I doubt it because I feel like alchemical concoction was the way to deal with the experiment. I think what's happening here is the game is saying if we played the scenarios out of order, that's when you can deal with the experiment. But if you play them out of order, you can have a really tough time. And this is kind of like an unachievable bonus objective. So for our last action, we move Rex Murphy to Miskatonic Quad, and then we'll send him to faculty offices soon enough. It'd be very, very nice if we could check out dormitories with Zoe, but we can't because Jazz Mulligan only gives Rex the keys. Well, here's the question. What do we do with Zoe then? Don't need to play Rite of Seeking. Should we just draw cards so that we hope to get another weapon? Don't really know. Actually, no. What we do, we move Zoe once into administration building. There's a thrall here, which engages us. We get another resource as if we needed it. We then shoot the thrall with our 45 automatic, testing 4 plus 1 from the 45 automatic, testing 5 versus 2. We got this is ridiculous. 4 and 0 auto fails. Well, we succeeded. The thrall is dead. Then do we just sit here and wait for Rex to come with us? Let's play Zoe's Cross while we're here. We might as well. It only costs 1 resource. That means that after an enemy becomes engaged with you, you can exhaust Zoe's Cross and spend a resource to deal 1 damage to that enemy. Very cool. And then for our last action, I suppose we draw a card. Because that's all that there is to do, really. I don't think we need these clues. Perhaps we should have played evidence. Let's say we played evidence after we killed that last enemy. It's all our actions, and that means we do have 1 of these clues at least. I don't really know why. Maybe we need clues to barter with the professor when we rescue him here, or barter with a captor or something. Bit of a weird turn. I feel like I would have loved to have attacked the experiment or done a lot of damage to it, but it doesn't feel achievable with the conditions that I've been given. That's all right, not the end of the world. On to the enemy phase. Is this a hunter? It is not. The experiment just kind of sits there, ominously. Upkeep. We have evidence and a holy rosary. Okay, interesting. No way to deal massive damage, but we weren't expecting it anyway. Mythos, we added Doom. We're 1 out of 3. It's not a lot of breathing room here. Drawing counter cards. We have drawn a thrall on Zoe. We get another resource. Guess this is kind of showing that we might not need that emergency cash with Zoe because her economy is so strong anyway. The thrall is very easy to deal with. It's just 222, but it does spawn at the location with most clues, which is the admin building anyway. Oh, at the end of your turn, if you're in the admin building, discard the top card of your deck. Okay. That was Bandolier. I think we're all right with that. I don't think we were relying too much on that card. Draw a card on Rex. Visions of Futures Past. Test 5 head. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of your deck. Right, we're testing. We've only got 3 versus 5, which is kind of horrible. Jazz doesn't help us in any way. This is a case where we commit our guts. Surely. Do we care about discarding cards? There's only 14 left. So yes, I do. But Beyond the Veil only applies to Zoe. But is there another one in the encounter deck? Let's say we commit guts, so we're happy with it. So we're testing 5 versus 5 and 0. We succeed. All right, well, that's worked out well. Draw 1 card because of guts, obviously. Ward of Protection. I see what's going on here. On to our investigation phase. Simple, I think. Rex moves once. Oh, whoops, that's Zoe. Rex moves again to the faculty offices. We flip this. There is no sign of Professor Rice in his office. You call his name and it echoes fruitlessly through the hall. Hang on, the night is still young. What do we make a mistake in setup? Sure, he should be here. If extracurricular activity is the first scenario of the campaign, use faculty offices. The night is still young. So did I just use the wrong one? I did use the wrong one. All right. Let's switch him. I was going to riot if I got to here and there was nothing to save. How would we even win? Can't kill the experiment. I guess then there is something in dormitories. Is it cheating if I look at what dormitories is so that I know for next time? Yes, I think it probably is. Might sneakily do it on Arkham build after the game and just pretend I haven't. Anyway, the door leading into the faculty offices is locked. Flip it over. Flip it over. After faculty offices is revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a humanoid enemy and spawn it here. Shuffle the encounter deck. Our objective, if investigators in the faculty offices spend 2 clues per investigator, so 4 as a group, you get a resolution. Okay, let's think about this. It's a 2-shroud location with 4 clues on it. There's a victory point, a wooga. We're going to need 4 clues to move the game forward and get a resolution, which is only 1 more. We would actually get that if we killed this thrall with Zoe at the admin building, played evidence to get the clue, then we'd have 4 in total, then we could just finish. Which means we're in a really nice place to be pulling that Wizard of Yog-Sothoth from the encounter deck so that we can get that extra victory point. Is he humanoid? I think he is. Let's have a look. The Wizard of Yog-Sothoth. He is a humanoid sorcerer. Okay, let's try to experience max and spawn the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth. That can't be how you say that. The Wizard of Sothoth in the faculty offices. Shuffle the encounter deck. The Wizard goes on Rex because he's the only investigator here. Now what does Rex do? Evades, I guess. We're not killing him. We don't have an I've got a plan. Yeah, let's just evade for our last action. Oh, actually, think about it. So Zoe needs to... We can soak up a lot of damage on Rex. We've hardly taken any. We're 6 and 9. In fact, wouldn't it be... Could we kill the experiment somehow with Rex? He'd need a lot of clues for I've got a plan to do extra damage. No, I don't think we could kill it. Zoe would have to nip in and out, and then she'd take too much sanity damage from the experiment, I think. 2 and 2, yeah, it's not good. Alright, just to plan out this next turn. If Rex evades the Wizard is then not doing any damage to Rex, we don't really care. But on Zoe's turn, okay, I see what I'm going to do. Are there any victory points left to get on the map? I don't think so, apart from the experiment, and obviously we don't care about the experiment. What we're going to do is evade the Wizard, which means we are testing 3 versus 3, but we have a manual dexterity, so we're testing 5 versus 3. And then let's throw Inquiring Mind at it. Why not? There are clues at our location, so who cares? Which means we're testing 8 versus 3. -2, we succeed. The wizard gets evaded. He goes here. Rex's turn is finished. Now for Zoe, we know what we want to do. We want to kill the thrall, just because it is doing sanity damage, so we need to get rid of it. Yeah, we shoot the thrall. We're testing 4 plus 1, 5 from the gun. We're testing 5 versus 2. -1, success. We then play our evidence. No, we don't need to. What we can do is we can leave this clue in the administration building, I think. Then move Zoe to the faculty offices for another action. But she has to does she have to engage the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth to do damage to him? I'm going to Google. Okay, thankfully for my planning, you don't need to engage exhausted enemies to do damage to them. So for Zoe's last action on this turn, we're going to shoot the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth. We're testing 5, shooty, 5 versus 3, which is okay, but we should perhaps commit a vicious blow to take it to 6 versus 3 to make sure of it. Let's do that. And then, in actuality, we could... it has 3 HP but 4 fists, so we're testing versus 4. We'd be testing 6 versus 4. And let's throw a leadership at it too, because we could one-shot this enemy here. 6 versus 4, 7 versus 4. Can Rex throw anything at it? Rex can throw a ward of protection at it. So let's do 8 versus 4 to hopefully kill the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth, and then next turn we can win. Look at how flush with cash we are on both our investigators. Let's do that. 8 versus 4, see what happens. -3, success. The Wizard of Sog-Yothoth is in our victory display. 1 button and it's done. That's an extra experience, which is really, really nice. We're happy with this. We move on to the enemy phase. Are there any enemies that do anything? There are not. We move on to the upkeep phase. Does that experiment just sit there? I guess it does. Move on to the upkeep phase. We have drawn... we've drawn Smite the Wicked on Zoe. Okay. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded. This is nasty. Until an enemy is discarded. Flip this. Eager for Death is not an enemy. Offer of Power, nor is an enemy. 2 pushed into the Beyonds, nor that. Offer of Power, no. Light of who? Light of Aforgamon. A Whippoorwill. Okay, so spawn the Whippoorwill at the location farthest from you. Oh man, that is... Okay. The location farthest from us would be one of Student Union Humanities Orn or Alchemy Labs. Let's put the Whippoorwill in the Student Union with the Smite the Wicked attached to it. We really need to go and kill this, I think. Which does mean we can't win yet. Ooh, it's horrible. I don't want the mental trauma on Zoe, I really don't. But do we have time? All our conditions could mean that we could go and explore the dormitories with Rex, actually. I'm going to say I don't want to take a mental trauma into more scenarios, especially getting a mental trauma on a Guardian who only has 6 sanity on the first scenario feels really, really dreadful. So this will be, I'm afraid, a whole turn of Zoe moving to kill the Whippoorwill. At least we've got this cross out. We can do Tesla damage to it. Gosh, that's horrible. Alright, the Rex has drawn Quick Thinking. It's nice, I suppose. It means he can get an extra damage if he succeeds by 2 or more on a skill test, though I don't see where that's going to come in, really. Alright, Mythos phase. Add a Doom to the Doom counter. Shit. What happens when this moves on? We don't just lose instantly, I presume. But maybe we do. Maybe this is silly. I don't want the mental trauma. I'm making a decision. We run all the way to the student union with Zoe. Alright, let's draw some cards. Encounter deck, visions of futures past. Test versus 5 head. We have 18 cards in our deck, so I don't think we really care if we lose this. Okay, let's test our 4 versus 5. Do we get no we don't. 4 versus 5 we failed by 1, which means we discard 1 card, which was a manual dexterity. Rex's turn. Locked door attached to the location with the most clues and without a locked door attached. The attached location cannot be investigated. You have to spend an action to break the door down. Okay. That would mean locked door goes onto faculty offices. We don't need to get clues from there, which is handy. Alright, I think that's a successful mythos phase. Investigation phase. Zoe moves once. Zoe moves twice. Zoe moves 3 times to the student union. That's all she does this turn. What a waste, man. And then Rex moves once to the admin building, moves twice, moves 3 times to the student union, and we have a look in the dormitories and we see what's there because I want to know for next time. And he hasn't really got anything else to do. I suppose he would like to get clues, just 1 clue from somewhere, but we can get those on the way back to the faculty offices. What a ridiculous turn to have. What a waste. We move on to the enemy phase. What do the enemies do? The whippoorwill will hunt us, but we're already there, so it doesn't really mind. Onto the upkeep phase, we have drawn unexpected courage on Zoe and an inquiring mind on Rex. Mythos phase. We get a doom, and this does cause the agenda to advance. Ooh, hang on, I think I flipped 2 at once. Agenda 2B. The experiment gone wrong. A cry of fear echoes through the campus, and several students flee from the eastern side of the university, where the science building can be found. Could this commotion be linked to Professor Rice's disappearance? If the dormitories are not in play, they are. If the experiment is in play, move it 1 location towards the dormitories. Okay, I see what's happening. Oh my god. Imagine if it blocks us in Miskatonic Quad. It won't, I don't think, right? We only need to really send Rex through. God. Alright, okay. Don't worry about that for now. Ooh, shit. I rolled over the next, what we're going to look at next. Agenda 3A. The Beast Unleashed. Some kind of wild creature is on the loose. Whatever it is, it appears to be headed toward the university dormitories. Forced, when this agenda would advance by reaching its doom threshold, instead remove all doom in play and move the experiment 1 location towards the dormitories. If the experiment enters the dormitories, advance. So we obviously don't want that to happen. It does mean that we have more time than we thought we had to deal with the experiment, but to deal with it, as Zoe, I would need to enter its location, and I would need to take damage from it at the end of the turn. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to read up what massive means with regards to attacks of opportunity, because potentially Zoe could dip in and then dip out before taking damage. Alright, terrifyingly enough, a massive enemy does still do attacks of opportunity, so I don't really think we can deal with the experiment, even though we have more time than we thought we did. Let's stick to the original plan. Well, first off, let's draw our encounter cards. Beyond the Veil, Surge. Don't worry about that, we've already got 1 in Zoe's threat area, so we get another card. Ancient Evils, place a doom on the current agenda. Okay, which means we're 1 doom away from the experiment moving to the Miskatonic Quad. Oh, thank God. I thought that might have been Ancient Evils. Terror from Beyond for Rex. Choose one of the following card types. Asset, event, or skill. We've seen this before. On Zoe, we have an asset, event, skill. On Rex, we have asset, skill, skill. I think we can get rid of assets, really. We don't need Rite of Seeking, nor do we need Magnifying Glass or Rosary on Rex. And we're happy with that because it hasn't done too much damage to our plans. I do think at this point, though, we really need to focus on moving Zoe and Rex to the faculty offices, but I need to kill this whippoorwill Let's spend one action to engage the whippoorwill, and then spend a resource to deal 1 damage to that enemy. Look how much money we have. I've said that a lot, but it is ridiculous. We discard. Oh, there was a whippoorwill when we tested Rex's... No, he had Ancient Heal. That was last turn. We do damage to whippoorwill. Whippoorwill dies, which also means Smite the Wicked dies or gets discarded at least, which means we don't have the mental trauma that we were worried about. That cost our first action. For our second action, we move to the Miskatonic Quad. For our third action, we go to the admin building. And then we're finished for our turn. I honestly think at this point, I don't really care what's in the dormitories. I think we're going to lose if we don't get Rex to the faculty offices ASAP. So 1 action to move to the Miskatonic Quad. 1 action to move to the administration building. And then 1 action to investigate the administration building so that next turn we can just move into faculty offices and finish. We are testing 4 plus 1 from Magnifying Glass, 5, and let's throw an Inquiring Mind Atticus, why not? We're testing 8 versus 4. -2, success. Rex gets that last clue. We are now set up perfectly to safely win next turn, and I don't think it can go too wrong. But how many times have I thought that in life and in Arkham? Our turns are done. Enemy phase. Does anything happen? I don't think so. The experiment doesn't become a hunter straight away. Upkeep. We draw Guts on Zoe, and I've got a plan on Rex. I'm still not going to try and kill the experiment, though, I don't think. We should have also discarded a card from each investigator because they are at the admin building. Wow, we discarded our weakness. I love that. On Zoe, and we discarded Shortcut on Rex. Oh, I pressed it twice. Whoops. Put this back and shuffle. Put this back and shuffle. To the Mythos phase, we add a Doom to the agenda. The agenda gets, fulfilled. The experiment moves 1 space towards the dormitories. We draw a Light of Aforgamon on Zoe. It is a peril. You must attach Light of Agenda to either the current agenda... you must attach Light of Aforgamon to either the current agenda or the current act. Treat all damage as direct damage and all horror as direct horror. Christ. Well, we don't need to worry about that for this scenario, but if it comes up again, sounds incredible. There we go. It sounds incredibly nasty. On Rex, we draw a locked door. Okay. So what, that's just 2 locked doors on faculty offices, I suppose. That would have been a nightmare to break into, but thankfully we don't need to break into it. Investigation phase, and this is very simple. We move Zoe once. We draw, 2 cards, I guess. We then move Rex Murphy once. We spend... Where is it? Oh, it's on the card itself. If investigators in the faculty offices spend 4 clues as a group, you get a resolution. Right. We are finished. We spend 4 clues. We get our resolution. We're happy with it. The second half of this scenario felt really weird, even though we had a great start. I guess because of that Smite the Wicked, that put a bit of a spanner in the works, but it didn't feel... Even though I'd set myself up well with assets and with the board, it didn't feel easy or smooth, so I can't imagine what it would have been if we'd have got unlucky in our first half of this scenario. Oh, actually, hang on. This location, we don't get the victory point for it unless we've cleared it of clues, right? So what should have happened, I'm going to put these cards back on Zoe. Zoe had 2 actions that I just threw away to draw cards because I thought we were about to win. But what should actually happen is Zoe breaks down these locked doors, and then Rex tries to get clues from this place, tries to clear out all the clues from this place. So we're testing 4 versus 4, which doesn't actually feel great. But we can throw an unexpected courage at it, so we're testing 6 versus 4. -2, success. We can discard one of these locked doors, but then there's another locked door. Oh, it says attached to the location with the most clues and without a locked door attached. So one of the locked doors can go somewhere else, which means we are now able to investigate. Zoe with her flashlight might as well have a go at getting a clue off here. We are testing 2 versus 0, actually, which is wonderful. 2 versus 0. A skull. -1. If you fail, we did not fail. We succeed. We get one of these clues off faculty offices. And that was Zoe's last action of the turn. Rex now. Rex has 2 goes to get 3 clues from faculty offices. For our first trick, we investigate with quick thinking, +1, and +1 from I've got a plan. So we've got +2 here, +1 from a magnifying glass, we're on +3. We're testing 7 versus 2. We run that. We got a +1, so we got an 8 versus 2, actually. It takes up an action. We get 2 clues because of Rex's ability. And then for our last action, it means we're not going to be able to win and get that victory point this turn. Does it matter? I don't think it does. For our last action, we try and investigate again. We are testing 5 versus 2. And we don't need to succeed by many, so we succeed by enough. We get the last clue. That's a victory point. Now on our next go, if the investigators in the faculty offices spend 2 clues as a group, 2 per investigator clues as a group, you get a resolution. It doesn't say you need to use an action to do that. So I think we've won. And in that last turn, we very nicely secured another victory point for ourselves. Awooga. We win. Bit of a scrappy second half of the scenario. Like my narration as well as the actual gameplay was scrappy, I would say. I kind of felt a bit lost. I felt a bit not hard done by, but I really wanted to kill the experiment because you get 2 victory points. But I was frustrated that it didn't feel like there was a way for me to do that appropriately with the cards and the situation that I had. But we get a resolution anyway, although lower number resolutions, from my experience, are the ones that you don't want. I think they're the ones where you die, where bad things happen. But that can't be happening in faculty offices. Let's read the campaign guide. When the game is complete, if we got resolution 1, go to page 16. You find Professor Rice bound and gagged in the closet of his office. When you free him, he informs you that the strange men and women wandering around the campus had been stalking him for hours. They cornered him in his office and tied him up, although for what purpose Rice isn't sure. You inform him that Dr. Armitage sent you, and Rice looks relieved, although he suspects that Dr. Morgan might be in danger as well. Because the strangers on campus seem to have been targeting Professor Rice, you decide that the best course of action is to escort him away from the campus as quickly as possible. As you leave the university, you hear screaming from the northern end of the campus. An ambulance passes you by and you fear the worst. Hours later, you learn that a rabid dog of some sort found its way into the university dormitories. The creature attacked the students inside, and many were mauled or killed in the attack. Shit, so because the experiment lived, the students die. I mean, it's cool from a campaign or like playing the game perspective, but it sucks. It sucks that we couldn't kill the experiment, so our hands were kind of tied. In your campaign log, record that the investigators rescued Professor Rice. Okay. Also record that the investigators failed to save the students. Okay. I tried. You are haunted by guilt. Add a tablet token to the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. Shit. Each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X value of each card in the victory display. That's nice, at least. Although we didn't get a chance to play our, what's that card called? Delve Too Deep. Yeah, we didn't get a chance to play these two. So we're kind of missing out on potentially 2 victory points there. But it can't be helped. How does it work? Adding the tablet to your bags for the rest of the campaign. I guess we just have to remember to manually do it every time we select our difficulty for each scenario. Anyway, the scenario is finished. We win, although we have a tablet token added and we didn't save the students. So, did we win? I think we perhaps lost the moral battle. does say proceed to scenario 1B, the house always wins, on page 24, so I'll see you next time.